There's something magnetic about a woman who is effortlessly unavailable. She's not cold, she's not rude, she's just focused on her goals, her peace, her standards. And when she sends a message like, "Hey, been running around building my empire, hope you're thriving too," it hits different. It's soft, it's powerful, and it says one thing loud and clear: I don't revolve around you, but I'm cool enough to say hi. That is the exact balance that drives men crazy. This kind of text taps into one of the deepest psychological triggers in attraction: scarcity and value. When something feels rare, it feels valuable. And when a woman appears emotionally balanced, unattached to outcomes, and living her own life, she doesn't need to say she's high value. It radiates through every word. Men don't obsess over availability, they obsess over access that feels earned. When you're effortlessly unavailable, you're not ghosting, you're not being passive-aggressive. You're simply showing that your time, energy, and attention are expensive, and not everyone gets a seat at the table. That kind of confidence is intoxicating. The truth is, many women are taught that if you like someone, you should be more available, more accommodating, more responsive. But you women don't flood. They flow. They know that mystery isn't about playing games. It's about preserving energy. You don't need to constantly update a man about your day, your feelings, or your schedule to be liked. In fact, when you do less, he wonders more. That text, the one that casually mentions you're building your empire, does something powerful. It tells him that your life has direction, purpose, and depth. You're not waiting around for plans. You're not bored at home swiping. You're busy becoming, and that changes the entire dynamic, because suddenly you're not just an option. You're an opportunity. Men are hardwired to pursue. That doesn't mean you have to play hard to get. It means you need to be someone worth getting, and women who are effortlessly unavailable are that exact kind of person. They're booked and busy, not just with work, but with self-care, friendships, passions, and goals. When a man senses that, he doesn't just want to talk. He wants in, "Now let's talk" tone. This text works because it's not arrogant. It's light, kind, and a little flirty. You're not rubbing your busyness in his face. You're inviting him into a small glimpse of your world. That little wink at the end, it's your signature. It says, "Don't get too comfortable, but I'm thinking of you." That balance of warmth and boundary is irresistible. You see, when you're always available, always texting back instantly, always saying yes to plans, even when they're last minute or half baked, you train him to see your time as cheap. But when you show you're living a full life, and he needs to rise up to match your vibe, that's when he leans in. It's not about manipulation, it's about magnetism, and magnetism lives in self-respect. The effortlessly unavailable woman doesn't check her phone every 5 minutes. She's out there living, reading books, building projects, taking herself to brunch, traveling, meditating, laughing with friends. Her phone is a tool, not a lifeline, and when she does text, it lands like a gem, because it's rare, because it's real, because it's her. And let's be honest, men know the difference between a woman who's trying too hard and a woman who's walking in her power. One feels heavy, the other effortless. So don't be afraid to take your time. Don't feel guilty for not replying instantly. Don't explain yourself for living your life. When he texts and you don't reply for a few hours because you were in a meeting, at the gym, or just enjoying your own company, good, that's how it should be. You're a woman, not an algorithm. What makes a man obsessed is not how much of yourself you give, it's how much of yourself you keep, until he proves he's worthy. When he sees you're not out here pouring into everyone, he'll want to earn that space in your world. And when he finally gets a text like, "Hey stranger, finally came up for air, hope life's treating you well," it won't just make his day, it'll make him realize you're the one he doesn't want to lose. So next time you reach for your phone, ask yourself, am I texting from a place of lack or from a place of power? Because when you lead with confidence, subtlety, and self-worth, you don't need to demand attention. You become unforgettable. That's the real magic of being effortlessly unavailable. You don't chase obsession, you become it. A subtle compliment can leave a deeper impression than a flood of flattery. When it comes to capturing a man's attention on a meaningful level, there's one powerful truth. Men don't just want to be desired, they want to be respected. And when a woman delivers a compliment that cuts through surface-level admiration and speaks directly to who he is as a person, it does something to him. It makes him stop, think, remember. That's the moment he feels seen, not just noticed. This is where the magic of the subtle compliment that hits different comes in. It's not "you're hot" or "you're so handsome." It's not about his looks or charm. Those are nice, but they're common. Instead, it's something like, "That thing you said the other day. Still thinking about it. You're sharper than most." That kind of compliment, that sticks. Why? Because it's rooted in observation, not validation. It tells him that you were truly paying attention. You caught something in his personality, in his intellect, in his essence, and you respected it, and that kind of respect is rare. When a man hears that from a woman he admires, it's not just flattering, it's grounding. It creates a sense of emotional intimacy that he won't get from surface conversations or generic attention. Men are often taught to hide emotion, to perform strength, to keep it all together. So when someone acknowledges something real about them, their mind, their thoughtfulness, their integrity, it lands differently, it challenges the armor, it invites softness, it doesn't demand anything. It simply affirms what's good and often overlooked. And in a world where everyone's competing to impress, a woman who notices instead of chases becomes unforgettable. There's also something incredibly attractive about the delivery. A subtle compliment isn't loud, it's not needy, it doesn't come with expectations. It's confident and understated, and that tone, that's power. When you text a man and highlight a detail he likely didn't even think was memorable, like the way he handled a situation, the cleverness in his words, or the calm in his presence, it tells him he's not just impressing you, he's intriguing you. And that difference shifts the dynamic. He starts to wonder what else you've noticed, what else you value, what else you see in him that others miss. That curiosity you create, that's the seed of obsession. Because obsession doesn't grow from grand gestures. It grows from small moments that mean more than they should. A compliment that hits different doesn't scream, it whispers, and those whispers echo long after the conversation ends. It's also important to realize that giving a compliment like this requires a certain emotional intelligence. It means you're aware enough to recognize his substance and secure enough not to overdo it. A woman who compliments with precision shows that she doesn't need to throw praise around for attention. She chooses her words like she chooses her company, intentionally. Think about it. When a man receives this kind of text, it shifts his perception of you. You're not just another message in his phone. You're the one who made him feel intelligent, capable, respected, desired in a way that goes deeper than surface attraction. And that emotional depth, that's rare, and men know when they've found it. This kind of communication also sets a standard. When you lead with depth, you invite depth. When you show that you appreciate more than just his looks or his confidence, you invite him to show more of who he really is. And when a man feels like he can be seen for more than his resume or status, that's when he starts to open up, to invest, to chase, not just for attention, but for connection. You don't have to overthink it. You don't need to be poetic or overly formal. The best subtle compliments are rooted in authenticity. Notice something specific, a trait, a reaction, a moment that felt real, and then text it in a tone that's light, real, and confident. That's what makes it hit different. It's the moment he pauses and rereads it. The moment he smiles and wonders how you saw that in him. The moment he replies with something thoughtful, and maybe even vulnerable, because your words made him feel safe enough to show a little more of who he really is. So next time you're texting someone you like, don't reach for the obvious. Dig a little deeper. Compliment his character, his mind, his clarity, even his silence if it felt strong, because while attraction might start with looks, obsession grows in the places where someone feels understood. And that, right there, is the art of the subtle compliment. It's not just a sentence, it's a spark, one that stays lit long after you hit send. Controlled silence is one of the most powerful psychological tools in human connection, and especially in romantic dynamics. It's not about manipulation, it's not about playing games, it's about understanding the value of space, energy, and presence. When used with intention, controlled silence can speak volumes without saying a word. It signals self, worth, boundaries, and emotional maturity. And often, it creates a deeper impact than any perfectly crafted message could. In a world where everyone is constantly connected, always texting, scrolling, replying, the person who steps back, who pauses, who doesn't feel the need to constantly reach out, becomes a mystery. And mystery, when paired with authenticity, is magnetic. When a woman chooses to be silent not out of pettiness but out of power, it shifts the energy. It creates space for the other person to reflect, to notice, to realize her value. Controlled silence is not the same as ghosting. It's not about disappearing without reason or punishing someone through absence. It's about making a conscious decision to protect your peace and not overextend yourself. Sometimes it's staying quiet after being taken for granted. Sometimes it's choosing not to double text when he's been slow to respond. Sometimes it's simply pausing to let him come to you, not because you're testing him, but because you respect your energy enough not to chase. The magic of silence is that it disrupts patterns. Most people are used to instant gratification. They're used to texts being replied to within minutes. They're used to constant access. But when a woman suddenly becomes unavailable, when she doesn't respond immediately, or when she stops initiating conversations, a man notices. It forces him to step out of autopilot and into awareness. He starts wondering what changed, why the vibe is different, and that questioning, that's where curiosity and reflection are born. Men by nature are problem solvers. When something feels off or uncertain, it triggers their attention. Silence can make a man pause and consider, have I been distant? Did I take her for granted? Is she pulling away? Or has she already moved on? These questions don't arise when everything is predictable. They come from contrast, and silence is the most elegant form of contrast there is. There's also a level of emotional confidence required to practice controlled silence. It's not easy to sit in the unknown. It's tempting to reach out, to explain yourself, to seek reassurance. But when a woman holds her silence, she's saying to herself and the world, I trust my worth enough not to beg for attention. That energy, that's irresistible, because it's rare, because it's real. Controlled silence also invites reciprocation. If you're always the one initiating, maintaining, and carrying the conversation, you're not in a balanced connection. You're in an emotional performance. But when you step back, when you let the silence speak, you allow the other person to show their level of investment. If they care, they'll reach out. If they're serious, they'll close the distance. And if they don't, that silence saved you more wasted energy. In many ways, silence is a test not of their love, but of their consistency. Anyone can say the right things, but who shows up when you stop trying, who notices your absence instead of expecting your presence. That's what controlled silence reveals. It peels away the surface and exposes the truth, not through words, but through action, or lack thereof. There's also a beautiful peace that comes from choosing silence. When you stop trying to convince someone to value you, when you stop chasing connection, you reclaim your power. You start hearing your own thoughts more clearly. You reconnect with yourself, worth, and in that clarity, you stop fearing loss. Because you realize that anything you have to beg to keep was never really yours. Controlled silence isn't cold, it's conscious. It doesn't shut doors. It leaves them open, but it doesn't hold them. It allows others to walk through or walk away. And either outcome is a gift, because clarity is freedom, and silence often brings clarity faster than conversation ever could. So when you feel the urge to text him again, to explain yourself, to fill the space, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I reaching out from confidence or from fear? If it's fear, choose silence. If it's loneliness, choose silence, because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is not to speak. It's to listen to your needs, your boundaries, your intuition. Eventually, the right person won't be confused by your silence. They'll respect it. They'll meet your energy. They'll understand that your quiet is not emptiness. It's depth. It's self-respect. It's a boundary wrapped in grace. And when that happens, when someone comes toward you not because you demanded it, but because your silence reminded them of your value, that's not obsession. That's alignment. That's power. That's love on your terms. In the end, the woman who knows when to speak and when to stay silent holds more influence than she realizes. She doesn't need to make noise to be heard. Her absence echoes, her silence teaches, and her energy unforgettable. The playfully confident text is an art form, a delicate yet powerful combination of charm, boldness, and just the right amount of mystery. It's not about being aggressive or cocky. It's not about being sweet and passive either. It's about owning your energy and radiating self-assurance in a way that makes a man lean in, laugh, and wonder what it is about you that feels different. This type of text isn't desperate for attention. It commands it. It's lighthearted but impactful. Think of it like a wink in words. A quick tease that tells him, "You're cute, but I'm not impressed by just that." It creates playful tension, a spark that doesn't try too hard but still leaves him smiling at his phone. Here's an example. If you can make me laugh harder than my group chat, maybe I'll consider giving you my best meme. What's happening here? You're joking, but you're also setting a bar. You're letting him know your time and humor are valuable, and if he wants in, he's going to have to earn it. That's confidence, and that's magnetic. The psychology behind this is rooted in how people respond to challenge and reward. Men, like anyone, are more drawn to something they can't easily have. But when that thing is also fun, warm, and inviting, that's the sweet spot. A woman who can tease with grace, flirt with fire, and still hold her standards makes a lasting impression. Playful confidence also shows emotional security. You're not fishing for validation or trying to prove you're likable. You already know you are, and that energy is what flips the dynamic. Instead of wondering if he likes you, he starts wondering how to keep your attention. It also creates an emotional contrast that men find irresistible. Most texts fall into extremes, either too cold or too clingy. The playfully confident message lives in the in-between. It says, "I'm into you, but I'm not going to lose sleep over this." That's intriguing. It forces a man to see you as someone who doesn't just give her energy to anyone, someone who knows her worth. The beauty of these kinds of messages is that they're authentic. They don't require acting like someone you're not. They just require that you tap into the version of you that's fun, self-assured, and aware that you're the prize. Not because you need to prove it, but because you've already lived it. Let's take another example. Careful. You're starting to get dangerously close to my text back fast list. That line is playful, flirty, and confident all at once. It teases him while also giving him a subtle compliment. You're rewarding his effort but keeping the upper hand. It keeps the vibe light and unpredictable, which keeps him engaged. And that unpredictability is key. In today's world of instant gratification, everyone's craving something that feels fresh. The playfully confident text feels different. It's not trying to be sexy. It is sexy because it's grounded in ease. A woman who can be witty and relaxed in her attraction has already done the inner work. She doesn't need to chase or cling. She can attract through presence. Another aspect of this type of texting is that it builds anticipation. When you drop a clever line, a gentle roast, or a cheeky challenge, it makes him want to reply. It creates a conversational rhythm. You're not giving everything away, but you're giving just enough. You're inviting him to play at your level, without lowering your standards. This doesn't mean you have to be a comedian or constantly on. Sometimes one perfectly placed line can do more than an entire paragraph. It could be something like, "You're lucky I'm in a good mood today. You almost got ignored." It's bold, fun, and lets him know that while you're interested, you're still calling the shots. It's also important to remember that playful confidence works best when it's genuine. Don't force it. Feel the vibe. Let your personality lead. If you're sarcastic, use that. If you're clever, drop a smart joke. If you're blunt, own that too. The goal isn't to be a performer, it's to be unapologetically you, with just the right touch of flirt. Over time, men don't just remember the content of your texts. They remember how those texts made them feel. A woman who can hold her own, make them laugh, and keep the conversation charged with curiosity. That's not someone they forget, that's someone they pursue. So next time you're texting someone you like, ask yourself, am I being honest? Am I having fun? Am I holding my power? If the answer is yes to all three, then you're doing it right. Because a woman who leads with playfulness and confidence doesn't have to chase obsession. She inspires it. That's the power of the playfully confident text. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's undeniable.